What's good, listeners? Ever wonder how a generation of millennials made millions of dollars with an iPhone just following their passion? Well, joining us on Just Talking is the CEO of Binge Network and director of Influencer. Bonnie Bruderer is with us live on the Chris Collins Show, Millennial Talk Show. How's it going, fam?
Hi, guys. I'm leaving for France in the morning. Now I'm worried. I'm not.
Okay. Don't become someone's side piece to a side piece.
You don't want to walk away with the Frenchie in your life?
Hey.
What's that?
I said you don't want to walk away with the Frenchie in your life?
I mean, not if they have a side piece and a side piece and a side piece.
I have to say, Bonnie, my favorite fling I've ever had in my life was a Frenchman. When I was in Paris, straight up, it was Paris. He was hot. He was Portuguese who spoke French. Oh my God, it was all that and a bag of chips. So go have fun.
Well, since we are talking about dating right now, is fizzling an old age tactic, Bonnie? Has it been around for centuries?
I mean, I'm definitely guilty of the fizz. That is my strategy. So, but I'm legitimately busy. Yes, but you're right. It's better to be honest. But
it's women empowerment. I think that's really what it is after all. But hey, we're not here to be talking about breakup tactics.
Empowerment. It's because guys can't take a damn hint, right? And they keep calling you, they keep texting you, right? And they just can't take a hint and you're trying to be nice. So it's not women empowerment. It's men. Take the cue, dude. Take the cue.
Take the cue. All right. If I'm not going to reach you via text, then don't even try to email me. But hey, we're not here to be talking about breakup tactics. We are here to talk about Bonnie's latest film, which is called Influencer. And we want to let the people know what's good. And we have a teaser trailer right now for Influencer. So Marissa, let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Advertising is changing, programming's changing, everything is changing. The one thing you need to know, it will change.
Authenticity rules. Advertising is going to be about authenticity.
What we've learned is that sharing is very specific to the vertical.
Digital will become the #1 space when you want to get your message across.
When ads are prompted at the right time with the right content for you is the best thing that you can have.
Influencers are essentially people that are sharing information. They're trusted sources.
Not only is it for brands and businesses, but it's people as the influencer.
I think this year was the first year that digital is now exceeding traditional advertising models.
Advertising is everything. Without advertising, a product can die like that.
Mm-hmm. And Bonnie, what motivated you to create a film taking an inside look at the digital revolution?
So interestingly, at the time, I had a cable TV show in New York City, and I had about 20, just so happened to be women. We're all for the women's empowerment, girls and younger women that worked for me. And I would watch them prior to the show starting, and they would flip on their Snapchat, their Instagram, and whether it was the makeup artist or one of the producers, and they would have so many followers and so many comments and so many people engaging with them. And here we were on cable television, which was supposed to be all the rage. So I just became uber fascinated about the industry, about the power, about how it all worked, and started doing research, and eventually realized there was, a very strong story that needed to be told of how we came to get to this point where really anybody can become an influencer or become somebody that creates a following.
And what insights or surprises did you gain from interviewing the top tech and media CEOs to rising stars in the scene?
So a couple of things. I mean, from the perspective of social media and what it did in really leveling the playing field, I mean, it all of a sudden introduced this opportunity for really anybody to open the door to celebrity. If you had a strong message, if you could create great content, before you were required to be, cast in a show or be a host of a TV show or on the news. And now it really leveled that playing field so anybody could do it. That was the first thing of really understanding how that happened. And, the decade of companies like Google, like Bing, like the sharing economy, all playing a part in that. The second thing was really the seriousness that the influencers put into their brand and how much work it was, and how it really opened them up to, 24/7 vulnerability. We had, a couple of the influencers that were cast in that show were talking about how, previously if you wore something on an interview or you got to school and somebody didn't like your sweater, you just had to deal with it. Someone probably wouldn't even tell you to your face, but to social media, people will say things things that they won't, and they can be anonymous as well. And it can be very harsh and very hurtful.
Doesn't that sound quite familiar to the reports all this week with Ariana Grande having to address her body image? And
oh my God.
she was getting off antidepressants. I mean,
yeah. And I watched her, after speaking with you the other day, I watched her speak about that. And she talked, it's so cute because she's like, I'm not good at this. I don't do this often. Here's this massive Uber celebrity. And this person that then has to, come out there and say, like, that was the worst point in my life. I was on antidepressants. I was drinking on them. I was unhealthy. I wasn't eating well. But yet anybody and everybody can comment on what they think is healthy or perfect or amazing. And God, I mean, just as a human being, do you want people following you around and when you gain 5 pounds telling you?
Well, I mean, I guess that's what comes with being an influencer,
well, and that's
right?
That's one of the problems with it too. If you think about when she talked about, here she is, her life is out there as a celebrity, but the parts that were the demon side, the bad side, the hurtful, she had to hide. She had to hide it. She had to try to protect herself because the comments were so bad until finally she's like, look, enough is enough. This is hurting. This is damaging. And we see this over and over. Selena Gomez. We see this over and over. The beast of being an influencer, the beast of being social media, right? Is the hurtful comments people think they can just do because I'm never going to see you face to face.
And have you found that, being an influencer or being in advertising is a 24/7 gig? Like there is no days off?
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely is. So there's 2 sides to it, right? There's the Ariana Grandes. There's the everyday person that makes themselves vulnerable to that public scrutiny because they become an influencer. But then there's the other side. There's the rest of us that are watching that, and I know, like, I'm a mom of small children and we joke about this. It's like you see somebody else is at the park. You're like, should I be at the park right now? Like you're comparing, or someone gets to go to the grocery store alone. You're like, God, why do I have to go?
I really hope that's not the case, because if you're seeing a kid like eating a Tide Pod, I hope that your daughter or your son doesn't follow along, right?
No, but I think what she's saying is also, because as a mom, I get it. Like I just renewed the Knott's Berry Farm tickets because all my friends are taking their kids to Knott's, and I was like, oh, I'm depriving my kid. You know what I mean? I want to make sure I also go out there.
And that's just an everyday person example, right? I also work. I also have a life. I have, all of these things that you're constantly comparing yourself to 24/7 is not even an influencer. Like I take social breaks for months at a time. And it's funny, you'll start to get texts, is everything okay? Are you okay? Are the kids okay? And you're like, no, I just need a minute, because there is so much that goes into not only just consuming that media, there's the creation side and what that person is responsible for and what they're dealing with. And then there's just the consumer side. And I don't think that we're, as human beings, I know we're not capable of processing all of that and managing all of that on a daily basis. So.
And Bonnie, you bring that up too in your documentary, the one point in it that I really just honed in on, and it was almost halfway through, and you had the CEO, Olivia June, on there, and she made this comment: the more you're an influencer, the more you're on social media, the less real life connections you have.
It's so true. I mean, because you have to be so worried about what all of these strangers care about and think about and responding to them in real time. And if you don't, you're going to get criticized more. And that really, you can't simultaneously be having real, deep, connected relationships, in my opinion, and in science's opinion. So I think that that's what a lot of the troubles that we're seeing today in society and a lot of the things that are happening stem from that. We're really feeling that crunch right now. Over the after years and years of living this way, it's like, it's just not possible. Yeah. I can't tell you how many people I have spoken to that say they were happiest during lockdown in COVID because there was no comparison. There was nobody doing anything. So there was nothing to feel bad about.
I was pretty happy.
Yeah, I was so happy.
My daughter, I was a little stressed about my bills. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But I was like, I took a breath and I was like, oh, you know what? I need to slow down in life.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
We were talking about how influencers have been leveraging hashtags to their benefit, but we are talking about the rising stars. But I'm kind of curious on when it comes to the top tech and the media CEOs, when they're evaluating these influencers, do they believe that they have more sway and popularity than traditional celebrities in media and television?
So it's really interesting because all of those interviews were conducted a couple of years ago. And I think that was really the precipice of the turn of that. So I would say back then, and their answers probably no. Whereas today, yes, I think people have really realized that if you have a brand, if you have a concept, a book, anything that you're launching, that you're trying to get out there, that there's a lot of people that can be very impactful for your brand. I mean, we all know like what a bad Google review can do. And on the flip side of that, what a great influencer can do for your company, for your brand, for your following. And it's kind of scary because, you would have a brand and you would have somebody that is a representative of that brand speaking about that. But now it really is the wild, wild west, whereas everybody can have an opinion. Everybody can have, a good experience, a bad experience, like your product, don't like your product. So it really, that part, I guess, it's part of leveling the playing field, but it can be very, very challenging when you're putting something out there because the power shift has happened.
And you address in your documentary, you address about the authenticity of an influencer when they put a product out there. Because I actually trust an influencer more than I will a celebrity talking about it. Because I already know the celebrity is getting paid a bunch. Like, I already know it, right? And like, I have a woman that I follow. She is in the gym. She's always cutest, like clothes and stuff like that. And she's like, check out this one. This is a good brand. It does this. Here it has. And I trust her versus just an ad.
Yeah. And it's finding people that are like you. If I turn on an Instagram and there's a different product every single day, I'm probably not going to listen to that person because it's diluted. Their opinion, their, cloud is diluted. Whereas what I found in the movie with the influencers we interviewed, they were very passionate. They had turned down brand deals if they didn't believe in the brand, if they didn't believe, a very obvious was animal testing. If somebody had a product and they didn't believe that the way it was tested or the way it was marketed, they would turn that down. And I think that's really important, to know there's the influencer that's just in it for the money. And there's somebody that is really passionate about it and is creating their brand and doing things that they believe in and getting people to follow them that they feel are aligned with their values.
But Bonnie, how do you see the role of hashtags changing in the future? Do you believe that there will be a new search engine that will, take out hashtags?
It's such a hard question. I like to not have to comment on things about social media because they change literally by the day. So sure, I think that will be possible. I mean, just in the days since this movie was started until it was finished, they've required the hashtag ad. So things are changing and constantly happening literally on a daily basis. I think what's more, I guess, scary or like should be in front of everyone's mind is what's happening in general in social media. We're talking about, I just listened to the Senate hearings a couple weeks ago and it was like a telenovela. Like it was the most interesting thing I'd ever heard with the CEO of TikTok being interviewed and talking about banning that. And then, there's all this chaos with Twitter and there's censorship going on. I think that is really scary from a social.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a very great point that you're bringing up, Bonnie. And I actually have a clip of TikTok CEO having a video message to all the users before he addressed the Senate hearing. So I'm going to go ahead and click that right now.
Everyone, it's Shou here. I'm the CEO of TikTok. I'm here in Washington, D.C. today, and I have some news and updates to share with everyone here. Today, I'm super excited to announce that more than 150 million Americans are on TikTok. That's almost half of the US coming to TikTok to connect, to create, to share, to learn, or just to have some fun. This includes 5 million businesses that use TikTok to reach their customers. And the majority of these are small and medium businesses. Now, these numbers are amazing. And I'm so thankful to all of you and the 7,000 TikTok employees in the US.
And that's pretty wild considering how, the Biden administration opposes TikTok. They oppose the company, Chinese, Beijing-based ByteDance, and they would like to see it sell its stake. If not, it's going to risk a potential nationwide ban. Don't you think that there's other ways we can handle this moving forward without the risk associated with a nationwide ban?
I don't know. I mean, I listened pretty deep into those hearings. It's very tricky. The answer is it's very tricky. There's a lot of gray area. There was a lot of untruths, like even in that video that was just put out. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So I don't think it's a very quick yes or no answer. I would say it's a very complicated issue as far as data, storage, sharing, all of that. But I also think, moreover, it's just another one of those examples where, TikTok wasn't around just a few years ago. And then people said, oh, check this out. And it shares virally. Let's just say hypothetically, they did want to use it as a spying tool. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. It went like wildfire. And so those are the things.
They have used that as a spying tool. They have used it. That's why the hearings are there.
Yeah.
My firm thing is there needs to be blockades in there. We need to make sure it's not a spying tool, but I'm totally against a nationwide ban. I mean, that's for me,
But this is such a fascinating conversation both of you guys are bringing up, because with the emergence of like new social media platforms like Truth Social, Rumble, and Mastodon. I mean,
like Be Real. I'm all about the Be Real lifestyle.
Yeah, but Marissa, let me get to my point though, because again, we have 3 social media companies: Truth Social, Rumble, and Mastodon. So like, how do advertisers, prioritize, which social media platform to go to when they want to bring their campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really about message to market match, right? Whatever they're trying to reach, where is that viewer on social? And it might be a blend of a couple. It might be Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, or it might be Insta, YouTube. I think that's what's so interesting about advertising today and about AI and all of the things that are playing into it. Is it just isn't, you don't just do some data research and then decide we're going to put a billboard on the side of the freeway. It's a very complex matrix of how you use the people, but then moreover, how are you communicating with those people on that platform?
Yeah.
That's what's really important to the end viewer. I don't want to see something that on my Instagram that I know was made for TikTok or was made for YouTube, because it feels like they don't care. It goes back to that authenticity that we talked about in the movie. It's like that person doesn't know me. They're just putting someone out there to try to reach everybody.
I have to admit, I can't stand, even as like a personal sharing, if someone shares it on their Instagram. This is back when it was tied to Twitter too. So it was the same post: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It was like all the same posts. I'm like, well, where are you really on? What audience are you talking to? Right. So I have people on Facebook that I don't have on Instagram. And people on Twitter that I don't have, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's definitely a real thing, but I mean, everybody's trying to tackle, what media content should be allowed on, the platforms or not. I mean, and also there are concerns about what minors, 18 or younger see online. And there's actually a new California bill that will hold social media companies liable for designing platforms that addict young people and expose them to harmful information. So as you see here, child develops an eating disorder. I mean, how do you even prove that in court? I mean, should we start holding social media companies accountable like we do with tobacco companies?
I believe yes. I mean, I do think social media in a way will become the new cigarette of its day at some point. I think we're starting to see that now. We're starting to see cases. We're starting to see, Facebook under fire, this TikTok issue. I think they're really going to realize how damaging this is. I think it will evolve and change. I don't think it will go away. I mean, as a mother, I kind of hope it does, because it's scary to think about what you have to now put boundaries around for your children. But I really think it will it can't continue the way that it is.
That's interesting that you say that, Bonnie, because, free speech has been like the central issue in debates over, the potential nationwide ban. We also saw last year that Elon Musk reversed the permanent ban of a then sitting president, Donald Trump, sitting president. So that's pretty wild. I mean, so how do you see this decision impacting the way, public figures use social media to communicate with their followers?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen this sadly in the last election and what happened on January 6th and all of the things that were inspired by social media. I don't think we can continue that way. We've seen the demise and we've seen what happens at the end of the day. I think that we're going to start to see a lot more regulations around it. Sadly, it isn't necessarily freedom of speech anymore because, as you just pointed out, I mean, accounts can get turned off, and probably for good reason in some cases, or definitely for good reason in some cases. We just saw the Discord issue. It's happening today. There's the trial.
Yes, very true.
Things like that are happening, and it's just a matter of time before that starts to become commonplace. And so, depending obviously what happens and what the punishment is there, but I think that at some point that freedom of speech is going to lessen just for safety concerns. You can't have this mechanism where, again, all of a sudden, before we used to get our news from the 5 o'clock person telling, Walter Cronkite
Yes.
all day telling us.
And this is actually a great transition because I wanted to talk about, you being the CEO and founder of Binge Network. And when did you notice the demand for syndication in the smart TV world?
So about 7 years ago, when I was on cable and I literally wasn't getting bombarded, all of my, the makeup artists, the people working on the show, people, I follow you on Insta. No one was coming up to me on the subway saying, I watch your cable show. And so we started looking into smart TV and getting distribution elsewhere. And then we had a traditional film agent actually influencer for a couple of years, and really it did nothing. And so we realized there's a huge opportunity to disrupt the way distribution is done and licensing is done. And, over the past 7 years, we've seen a tremendous switch in the industry where cable's being, kind of cable.
The scapegoat. No, I mean, it's so true. I mean, long are the days of bunny ear antennas on the television. I mean, Binge Network syndicates over 50 plus OTT television networks. I mean, what in the world does OTT mean for the listener who has no idea?
Yeah, it's actually over 300 now. So we're on
very congrats.
TV platforms.
OTT, I can't even name over 50, let alone 300. So yes, please explain what OTT is.
I could, but we're going to have to extend the show today. So essentially OTT, we're all doing it anyway. It's watching TV through internet versus cable. So if you're watching Netflix, when you're watching Netflix, when you're watching Hulu, when you're watching CNN on your phone or Fox or whatever you watch, that is OTT. It's also called connected device TV, streaming. There's a lot of different terms for it, but essentially it's accessing television through internet. So that's really the world that we play in. And it all sort of started off of the first show. And then once we got into it and started, we manage over 25,000 films and television shows that we distribute on all of those platforms. And we work with all the top distributors like Amazon Prime, Hulu, everything that you've heard of, Pluto, Netflix. And so, I mean, there's a huge, with COVID even, just the viewing behavior went up 10x. And so there's a huge opportunity for content creators to be having their content there versus just social media. We love social, obviously, and we think that it should be done and continued. And also there's a huge opportunity in the streaming world.
Yeah, because what are the advantages of having content creators, distributed on smart TVs to 300 plus OTTs? Because I'm assuming it's not just United States based streaming companies. It would be abroad, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we're global. So we, the benefit really is twofold. Number one, you're diversifying your audience because we have seen things, TikTok's on the fringe, but we have seen creators or influencers that put all their eggs in a basket and then all of a sudden they wake up and Vine is gone or another social platform is gone. And so we really believe in diversifying. And the other thing is really that there's such a large audience when you're going into the echelon of television. For example, we work with Roku. They have about 50 million subscribers. So you're putting your show in a base that already has a tremendous amount in the tens of millions and sometimes hundreds of millions of viewers. So it just really, takes you into a different audience. And then, of course, there's the monetization side. All of those networks are generally an ad-based revenue. There's very few that are subscription. Hulu and Netflix are subscription, but most we work with are what's called AVOD, advertising based. And so you're generating revenue. Every time somebody watches your show, there's a pre, post, and mid-roll ad, and those generate revenue throughout. So,
and very cool, Bonnie. And I just want to ask you really quickly, I mean, is there any kind of a sleeper for streaming companies, unlike, Roku, Amazon Fire TV or Google Play, that's like, wow, content creators should really look for this?
So, I mean, Tubi is the main one, if you're not familiar with, that people should be watching. They made a big splash on the scene during the Super Bowl this year. They had a great ad there.
Yeah, the pause.
That was hysterical.
They're free.
That was funny.
That was for me.
So Tubi is a great one. It has a very diverse catalog, a very large catalog. You can watch it for free. There's films, there's TV shows. We work a lot with Tubi. We have about, I don't even know, thousands of our shows on Tubi. And then there's also a lot of obscure ones that from a content creator's perspective generate a lot of revenue.
Very cool, Bonnie. And I want to thank you again for joining the Chris Collins Show, Millennial Talk Show. And are there any plans in the coming months?
Plans? Well, tomorrow I'm leaving for France for MIP, which is the big television film industry event. So I'm very excited for that. I haven't been anywhere since COVID because I've had two newborns since COVID started.
Well,
Congratulations.
congrats.
Very cool.
Yes,
Thank
please,
you.
safe
So I'm
travels.
excited. Yeah,
Yes,
and
safe
then,
travels, Bonnie. Yes, go ahead.
oh no, and then in May we're doing our first big family vacation in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, I love the
beautiful.
Dominican. I've been on vacation. It is so much fun. You are going to have a blast.
Good, can't
Yes,
wait.
and Bonnie, thank you so much again for joining the Chris Collins Show, Millennial Talk Show.
Thanks, guys. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks, Bonnie. You too.
Thank you.